Influence artists. Collect colorful stones, stack them in towers, and display them when you score in Mandala Stones. Thank you for joining us at Tantrum House Studio D. I'm Melissa Delp.
And I'm Kevin Delp. Mandala Stones is a competitive, abstract strategy game for 2 to 4 players that plays in about 45 minutes.
It's designed by Filip Glowacz and published by Board and Dice. They sent us this copy to review.
At the beginning of the game, the main board is set up with colorful stones in stacks of 4, and the artists are randomly put in their places. Players receive a player board and 2 secret objective cards. Here's a quick overview of the game. Players will be collecting stones, placing them on their player board, and then scoring them throughout the game. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins.
On your turn, you choose to either pick stones from the main board or score stones from your player board. If you don't have any empty spaces on your board, you have to score.
If you decide to pick stones, you choose an artist and move it to a new spot. Then collect the stones that match the pattern of that artist and are not adjacent to any other artist. You have to pick all eligible stones. Place those stones in an open space on your player board.
If you decide to score stones, you choose one color and score each tower from left to right that has that color stone on top.
Each tower scores a little differently. The far left one is looking at the different heights of all the towers on your board. The middle 3 score based on the position of the top stone on those towers. The far right one scores based on the different colored stones in that tower.
Then you'll place the top stone from each of the towers you scored onto the mandala board. And if you place a stone over a +1 or +2, you get extra points.
There is another way of scoring your stones. Instead of picking one color and scoring those towers, you could pick any of the top stones and score them, but you only get 1 point for each of those stones.
This could be a good way of removing stones from your board so you score better later in the game.
The game end is triggered once stones reach the hand symbol on the mandala board that correspond to the number of players, so 2, 3, or 4.
If that happens, you finish out the round. The game could also end immediately if a player cannot take either the pick action or the score action. Once the game is over, players can score one of their 2 objective cards.
These cards have different ways of getting points, usually based on what kind of stones are left on your player board.
This game is all about timing and placement.
Oh, yeah.
When and where to pick the stones you want and when you should score them. Can you hold out to get extra points on the mandala board?
Totally agree. There have been times I really wanted to go after certain stones, but decided that it would give an advantage to other players because of where the artist would end up on the board.
Yeah, I definitely benefited from that. In one of our recent games, the other player moved one, and then I was able to snag 4 stones, which is rare.
Yeah.
So as you're deciding where to move an artist, you're trying to get the right colors, not just for the top stones in your tower, but even the other stones, because if you can get them to match across levels, then you'll be able to potentially score a bunch in a row.
Even what space you choose to place your stones on your player board is important. I really like the decision making throughout the whole game.
Yeah, you can only place stones on an empty spot, so you have to be strategic with the heights and colors. There's one space that scores the most if there's only one stone there.
Oh, yeah.
And then another one that scores the most if your tower is 4 high.
We played this at different player counts, and I personally like this at the higher player counts. The artists are moving more and more, so you're going through those stones faster.
But if you like a little bit more control and the ability to plan out what may or may not be available next turn, you might like it at 2 players.
The look and feel of this game is great. It not only has the bright colors that really draw your eye in, but also the tactile feel of stones. They're wonderful to touch and hold as you play the game. One small complaint is it can be a little difficult for those that don't have good eyesight to differentiate the 2 patterns of stones, especially on the yellow ones.
The main game board and the mandala board are thick cardboard. The player boards are more of a sturdy paper. The thickness of the player boards doesn't really bother me because basically you're just putting your stones on it and your score marker. I think they're durable enough for that.
One minor thing that people might find monotonous is the setup. You have 24 piles of 4 stones each. Some might find the ritual enjoyable, and some might not.
Like you. When you look at Mandala Stones, it could remind you of Azul.
Sure, yeah.
It's another brightly colored abstract strategy game. Both have simple rules, they're fairly easy to learn, and they both offer deep strategy. But I would say that they do play differently.
Oh, totally.
Mandala Stones has the added decision of when and what to score, and there's also no way to stick other players with negative points.
I love abstract strategy games, and this one is really fun. It's one of my favorite games I've played this year so far. It has the ease of play, pick or score, and I love the timing. Especially when you think it's going to get close to the end of the game and you're trying to fill one of those end game goals.
Yeah, I'm not as big of a fan of abstract strategy games as Kevin is, but I do enjoy the placement and scoring puzzle in this game. You should probably keep in mind, though, that skill level and the choices of other players will affect the choices that you have on your turn. I have made, during games, impassioned pleas for other players to not make a move that would benefit Kevin.
And I've done the same thing in reverse, so it wouldn't help Melissa.
You can see some of that in the playthrough we have on our channel. It was Will, Katie, Kevin, and me.
If you're looking for a challenge and like abstract strategy games, then check out Mandala Stones from Board and Dice. Pre-orders go on sale right now. Even what space you choose to place your I'll just say that again.
Either pick, I think the font's way smaller than it normally is. This game is, let me try that again. I think it was probably, didn't give too much a beat.
Which is always good.
Especially when you agree, yeah.
Here we go.